This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. Mercedes-Benz warned investors that Russia could confiscate its assets in the country and even mount cyber attacks against the automaker. Reuters reports that Mercedes has over $2 billion in assets in Russia, mainly a small assembly plant that makes E-Class sedans and SUVs. Russia's ruling political party, called United Russia, is working on legislation that would nationalize the assets from companies that are considered to be from, quote, unfriendly states. They especially want to go after companies that left Russia because of its invasion of Ukraine. And it turns out that Ukraine is a major source of wiring harnesses for European automakers. And now they're scrambling to find other sources, but it won't be easy. Wiring harnesses are extremely complicated, and the average car has 3 miles of wiring, so it could take months to find new sources to make them. BMW and VW have already shut down some production because of this, and Mercedes warned it could be next. Things are going from bad to worse for the auto industry. First, it was the COVID pandemic, then the chip shortage. Raw material prices are surging because of Russia's invasion, and now there's a scramble to try and find wiring harnesses. But despite all the bad news, the Volkswagen Group posted some pretty good financial numbers for last year. It sold 8.8 million vehicles worldwide, which was down more than 4%. Get this, VW sold 600,000 fewer vehicles last year than it did in 2020, and 2.4 million less than it did in 2019. Even so, it generated 250 billion euros in revenue last year, which was up 12%, and it posted a net profit of 15.4 billion euros, which was up 75%. Most of that profit came from Audi and Porsche. The VW brand itself only accounted for 4 billion euros of that profit, or about 26%.
We want to know what drives your testing. OTA, connected car, diagnostics, remote testing. Intrepid Control Systems is here to help you work from anywhere. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
Ford has set a goal to sell more than 2 million EVs globally by 2026, and now it's shedding a little more light on its plans for Europe. It announced 7 new BEVs, 3 passenger and 4 commercial vehicles, and that does not include the Mach-E or E-Transit. The Transit Custom and Tourneo Custom will launch next year, followed by the Transit Courier and Tourneo Courier in 2024. Those last 2 will be made at Ford's upgraded facility in Romania. An all-electric version of the Puma will also be made there in 2024. As part of its plan, Ford is expanding its partnership with Volkswagen as well. It previously announced a new EV based on VW's MEB platform. That model, a 5-seat crossover, will be made at Ford's factory in Germany next year. But it's also making another model based on MEB, a sports crossover, that will go into production at the same facility in 2024. This current deal between Ford and VW will last for 6 years, and in that time frame, Ford expects to build 1.2 million vehicles off the MEB platform. It will also be interesting to see how Ford styles the vehicles differently from Volkswagen. And lastly, Ford is forming a battery joint venture with SK On, the battery division of SK Innovation, the same company Ford has a battery deal with in the US. They'll produce NMC, or nickel, manganese, and cobalt battery cells in Turkey as early as 2025, with the annual capacity of around 30 to 45 gigawatt hours. Assuming an average battery pack size of 75 kilowatt hours, that would be enough to power up to 600,000 vehicles. Is Tesla coming out with a new version of the Model Y? It sure looks that way. Listed on the EPA website is a model called, quote, all-wheel drive, or AWD, which it's never had before. It slots right in between long-range all-wheel drive and performance all-wheel drive. But what's interesting about it is that it has significantly less range, 279 miles. That's 51 miles less than the long-range all-wheel drive model, which has some speculating that this could have a new LFP, or lithium iron phosphate chemistry, or the new 4680 battery cells. But with less range and the exact same efficiency of 28 kilowatt hours per 100 miles as the long-range all-wheel drive model, we suspect this is a version with a smaller battery pack with the same cells it's currently using. New vehicle prices keep going up. Tesla raised its just last week, and Tesla may be looking to give customers that want all-wheel drive what they want at a lower price. Things for commercial EV startup Electric Last Mile Solutions, or ELMS, continue to go from bad to worse. It recently announced it's laying off nearly a quarter of its workforce. Its two co-founders, Jim Taylor and Jason Liu, resigned over questionable stock purchases, and now the company has revealed it's under investigation by the Securities and Exchange Commission. ELMS says it's in cooperation, but it can't predict the scope, duration, or outcome of the investigation. On top of that, it only has enough cash to keep its operations running sometime through July to September, and it won't be able to launch its vehicles without raising more money.
Mobility is becoming electric, connected, and autonomous, just like the manufacturing world. But will always be one thing: a reliable partner for our customers.
BMW, Qualcomm, and Arriver Software formed a partnership to develop Level 2 and 3 automated driving technology. It will be a scalable, next-gen version of BMW's automated driving software stack that's available in the iX. The technology will be developed in several countries in Europe, China, and the US, and will be tested at BMW's test center in the Czech Republic. Backseat passengers in an Audi are about to have a lot more fun. The automaker is bringing virtual reality into its vehicles. Called HoloRide, the technology was first introduced at CES in 2019 and will be available in Audis with an upgraded version of its MIB3 infotainment system. A set of VR glasses is needed to play the games or other interactive content, which is able to adapt to the movement of the vehicle. For example, if the car turns right, the spaceship in the video game you're playing will fly to the right, or if the car accelerates, so will the spaceship. Audi is demonstrating the technology to the public at the South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas, that's currently going on right now. It will first launch in Germany, the UK, and the US starting in June, with other markets to follow after that. Should independent repair shops have the right to get the data they need to repair your car? Automakers are making it increasingly difficult to get that data for several reasons. They're worried about cyber attacks, they don't want their cars not meeting emission standards, and of course, they want customers to take their cars to the dealership, not independent repair shops. So now there's legislation working its way through Congress that would force the car companies to make that data available to the independents. They call it the Motor Vehicle Owners' Right to Repair Act. And that's the topic for this week's Autoline After Hours. Gabrielle Hopkins from the Auto Care Association will be our guest. So join John and Gary as they tackle the top issues affecting the automotive industry. And a few quick notes before we go. John will be in the driver's seat for the next few days, as I'm off wheeling around in the Volvo C40 and XC60 Recharge. Make sure to check out our social media for updates on those vehicles, and hopefully I'll be back on Friday with some stories to tell. But that's a wrap for today.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Bridgestone, solutions for your journey. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And by Scheffler, we pioneer motion.